Welcome into the 3-2 Falcons Today channel, Atlanta, with an awesome come-from-behind-esque win at the last moment over the Houston Texans, 21-19, and Desmond Ridder might be him. I know that's a big overreaction, but let's give the guy some credit. Let's give him his roses, because he was awesome today. It was the best start of his NFL career, without a doubt, in my opinion. He went 28 for 37, 329 yards, 1 touchdown through the air, 1 touchdown on the ground. He was tremendous. He made good throws. He made accurate throws. He made good decisions. This was by far the best game from Desmond Ridder we have ever seen, and it came at the perfect time, right? After 2 disastrous starts against Detroit and Jacksonville, the noise was loud, and I was feeding into the noise. We all were. Taylor Heineke this, Taylor Heineke that. Well, shout out to Desmond for looking at people like me in the face saying, shut the front door, stick to your YouTube channel, I'll stick to playing football, because he was great. So DR9, shout out to you. Everyone right now, type DR9 down in the comment section. Let's show Desmond Ridder some love. Type 9 if you thought Desmond Ridder played a great game. Let's stick to the offensive side before switching over to the defense here. Bijan Robinson, 14 carries, 46 yards, 0 touchdowns on the ground, but he didn't have a receiving touchdown. Bijan, unfortunately, had that bad fumble, but you know what? I say it was more just a great play by the defense, which, hey, D'Amico Ryans and that Texans defense, they played hard. That whole team was physical, I would say well-disciplined, but they learned the hard way that Desmond Ridder has one hell of a snap count. But that Texans team came in and gave Atlanta everything they had. They just came up short a couple of drives, and that was the difference maker. But Kyle Pitts, Mr. Pitts, welcome to the 2023 NFL season. It's so great to have you. Please stick around now. We'd love to have you the rest of the year. 7 receptions, 87 yards, his best game in who knows how long. A long time. Kyle Pitts was a big part of the offense. He came up with first down receptions. He was keeping drives alive. He was making tough catches. He was moving the chains. He was moving the ball down the field. Pitts was great. For another player that's had a lot of noise around them, Kyle Pitts came up with a huge game. I mean, really think about what this says about Atlanta's locker room. They dropped 2 in a row. Everyone's begging for Desmond Ridder to get benched. Kyle Pitts is a bust. And what do? They go out in front of the home crowd, and they put together the best game together as a quarterback-tight end duo we have seen through 9 starts now. So Kyle Pitts, bravo to you, man. Bravo to you. That was awesome. Drake London is just Drake London. That's all you need to know about Drake London. He comes up with very big-time catches on key third downs, and they're never simple. Like, he is going up there, pinpointing the football. That was the best shot of Drake London getting up, helmet coming off, first down Atlanta, keeping the drive alive. Drake London might not get a lot of volume, but man, he packs a punch every time he touches the football. Does he not? I feel like every time the ball goes Drake London's way, something good happens. So now the lesson is, throw to Drake London more. Like, get 5 the ball more. He is not just some possession slant boy Michael Thomas. He's a big play machine. Other guys on offense, Younghoe Smith, aside from that 1 fumble, we're seeing Atlanta's tight end 2 be better than a lot of teams' tight end 1. Arthur Smith had a good thing with Younghoe in Nashville, and they're bringing that down to ATL. Arthur Smith, as for your report card, pretty good, I'd say. Like, the ground game, the offensive line, it needs some work still, and I thought this would be a good game to kind of correct the offensive line. Still not quite where I want it to be, but it's getting better. Sort of. Tyler Algier had some good carries today, especially in the second half, more so than the first half. But I think about how this game nearly slipped away from Atlanta, right? Go down memory lane with me for just a moment here. You had the Drew Dahlman personal foul, knock him out of field goal range, ultimately cost the Falcons a chance to have the lead going into the half because they went down 9-7 instead of or 9-6 instead of, or 9-7 instead of 10-9 or whatever, 10-6. You get the point. You had that Drew Dalman personal foul. Then the next series, aside from the kneel down, Bijan fumble. Next series, Younghoe Smith fumble. So 3 straight series where Atlanta just shoots themselves in the foot. And you know what? Despite those issues, despite those mistakes, they pulled up their bootstraps at the end of the game, and they drove down the field and got Younghoe Koo a 37-yard field goal attempt to win the game. Younghoe Koo, power to you. All right, before we get more of my post-game show and talk about this defense here, I do have to tell everyone about an awesome sponsor we have here at Chat Sports that I'm super excited to share with everyone, and that would be PrizePicks, which I'll show on screen in just a moment here. But PrizePicks is supporting Falcons Today. PrizePicks is a daily fantasy sports app where all you have to do is pick more or less for 2 to 6 player stat projections. Now, the way this works, for example, is if you want to spend 1 to 2 minutes on the PrizePicks app every Sunday morning making selections, whether you're at the Oval Office, you're on your way to the game, you're in business because PrizePicks has so many great options for you guys here. For Sunday Night Football, I'll show you my selections here in just a second because there are some great moves being made. I'm going with Brock Purdy less than 247.5 passing yards, more on Tony Pollard and Christian McCaffrey, total touchdowns at 1.5, and more for Deebo Samuel, 12.5 rushing yards. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. The link for that is in the comments and the description of today's video. Shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring Falcons Today. All right, let's talk to more about this game here. Defensively, let's kind of go to the other side of the football here. Ryan Nielsen, I know the defense might not be catching a lot of attention league-wide, but I promise you, like, in Atlanta, right, in the perimeter, everyone outside the perimeter, too, for crying out loud, sees what's going on. And that is a defense that plays hard for Nielsen, that flies to the football, that encourages one another after great plays. Remember that one incomplete pass that was right in front of Arthur Smith and Nielsen? Those two guys were losing their minds on the sideline. I love what I'm seeing out of Ryan Nielsen and this defense. C.J. Stroud, 20 for 35, 249 yards, a late touchdown to Dalton Schultz. I think C.J. Stroud is the real deal. Like, you talk about the Texans maybe getting the better quarterback of this past draft over Bryce Young. Man, if you're Carolina, you moved heaven and earth to get the first overall pick to pick the wrong quarterback. Yikes. I look forward to playing Carolina twice a year moving forward. Dameon Pierce, 20 carries for 66 yards and no touchdowns. He had some good runs. All in all, if you're the Houston Texans and you want takeaway from this, it's finish off drives, which is credit to Atlanta's bend-don't-break defense. Sure, the Falcons defense might not have Pro Bowl talent all over it, which, by the way, Calais Campbell injury update. He went to the medical tent, didn't see him come back. Let me see if I have an update right now in real time. But no, I don't see an update on Mr. Calais Campbell. But you had A.J. Terrell briefly lead the game. He was tested for a concussion. He would return to the game. So looks like Mr. Terrell is A-okay. But Atlanta's defense, I mean, they got screwed over a couple of times, right? The first possession by Houston was on the Falcons' half of the 50. You know what I mean? They had the short punt and the return across the 50. You had the Bijan fumble start Houston off at Atlanta's 30. You had the Younghoe Smith fumble, which you thought might be a momentum booster for Houston. Oh, no. Not at all, actually. Instead, the Texans force a 3-and-out. Like, this defense has been great so far, I think, for Atlanta. Shout out to the Ryan Nielsen duo, Ryan Nielsen DC performance, because so far this defense is looking miles ahead of where they were last week, or last year, I should say. The only thing we were missing today was sacks. However, C.J. Stroud and the Texans' offensive line have not given up a sack in 3 straight games, if I had that correct. So the sacks are going to come, but all in all, good showing, good performance by Atlanta's defense. All right, that's going to do it for us on this breakdown of the Falcons-Texans game. Atlanta, 21-19. They improved to 3-2, and they've got a good chunk of the schedule coming up with some winnable games, so hopefully they can build off of this. But shout out to Arthur Smith and company. They came back from London after a loss. No bye week. They said, keep your bye week. We don't need it. And they take care of business at home to get this fan base back on track and more comfortable with the direction this team is headed. So shout out to the Falcons for picking up that win, 21-19, and Arthur Smith. Desmond Ritter, salute to you, man. That was fantastic. Great showing with your back against the wall. You silence people like me, the naysayers, the doubters, and the haters. And I hope you go on to have a great rest of the season, because that is what's best for this team.